Hey there, welcome to Here's What I Learned. I'm Jackie Hayes, a systems strategist, unapologetic, smutty romantasy lover, Dungeons & Dragons geek, and your no BS guide to building a business that works for you. This is the place where we swap stories, share lessons, and get real about the highs and lows of creating a life and business that actually feels good. No cookie cutter advice here, just honest conversations about what's working, what's not, and how to rewrite the rules to fit your version of success. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and let's dive in. Today I want to welcome Melody Johnson, the founder of The Course Consultant. She helps impact-driven business owners create powerful learning experiences and scale with digital products, courses, and group offers. Welcome to the show. Melody, can you tell me what is something that you have been learning about lately?
Yeah, so I am really excited to chat with you, Jackie. I really loved your values-driven approach to helping other entrepreneurs pursue a business that not only funds their lifestyle, but also helps impact other people. So for me, what I've been currently learning is just allowing myself to pick up my business. I actually took a 10-month break from my business after adopting two special needs children. And so coming back to business means me evaluating which ones will actually fit my lifestyle now, because previously I was not a mom and now I am a mom to two very active kids. And so evaluating what's going to fit my lifestyle and how can I also impact other entrepreneurs who are looking to grow their business without burning myself out. And I think burnout is a really, really big thing that happens to many entrepreneurs at different seasons. And I think one of the most important thing is that not only can I accomplish this myself, but also help other people who are walking that same path.
Yeah. So that leads right into what you're learning right now is how to adjust to this very new life, and very new schedule, very new capacity level. Goes right into what it means to do business your way, which I'm sure has changed probably a little bit now that you have the two kids. What does it mean? What did it mean before? What does it mean after? Has it changed? Anything like that?
Yeah. So I previously really worked on creating programs based off of my availability. But what happens when your availability fluctuates because kids get sick, you have to take them to the doctors, there's emergencies that come up that you always can't anticipate. And so when I've really started looking at what is my bare minimum availability, and then how can I design a schedule that will actually be flexible, truly flexible, and not just, okay, I'm going to take Fridays off, right? So which is a great ideal, but in actuality and the way that my lifestyle works, it doesn't always fit that kind of perfect idea of I'm just going to take Fridays off and the weekends are for family. And so for me, because my kids have special needs, I have to bake in offers that will be flexible when I'm on the go. And also when I communicate with clients and customers, it's important that I actually communicate that in my marketing materials that, hey, we have this anticipated call or we have this anticipated check-in point, but just keep in mind that if there is an emergency situation, I will follow up with you and let you know that this is going to be rescheduled, or just having different ways to communicate with people. Like, for example, I offer Voxer chats with people who are my clients or maybe are doing a live program with me. That way, in the case that I do need to run to the school, because I'm also part of the PTO and I do a lot of volunteering, and then that's really important to me, right? So having the values that I have, it means fitting my business into my lifestyle and not really making my family fit into my business, not the other way around. So that's how I'm living that out. And also just creating those offers that align with my lifestyle, my needs, and my availability, which does sometimes shift.
I think, like you said, you're communicating with your clients that, sometimes my availability is going to shift. I can't give you an idea of when because, and I think a lot of solopreneurs who are parents would completely understand that. But that also means that you're having to communicate some boundaries that you probably didn't have before motherhood. What are some of the boundaries that you are now having to put into place, and how are you communicating those with your clients?
Yeah, so I think again, I'm pretty actively voicing in my marketing material that I work with moms and that I am a mother. And while not all of my clients are parents, in fact, I noticed there was a big shift prior to having children, and then also now marketing my business afterwards, after the adoption, it's been roughly about 2 years, but my 10-month hiatus was after, I would say, the year mark. Uh, what I've done to communicate that has been just explaining that this is the lifestyle that I'm choosing, that it is about me being flexible, and that for the most part, I haven't had too much pushback. But again, I do work with more entrepreneurs who tend to understand, like you said, and tend to say, hey, I prefer asynchronous communication. So it actually works really well. Um, I have had to have conversations about setting boundaries like, hey, I'm not available to do that quite yet. I have to run an errand. I'm out, shopping for my kids. And for the most part, I haven't had too much pushback. So that's really great. I'm sure that there will always be someone who will not understand, but honestly, I don't feel like we are values aligned in that regard. So I probably wouldn't want to work with those folks anyways.
Yeah, that is one of those, values alignment that you can really use when you start working with somebody. Are they going to be okay with the boundaries that I've set, regardless of what those boundaries are? They're my boundaries. And if they're not okay with those, then we are not a good match. And you have to be okay with their boundaries as well. So you stepped away from your business for 10 months. And I know there's a lot of people that just is a terrifying idea. Like, what in the world am I going to do? Especially for people who are going on parental leave for some reason, maternity leave, paternity leave, adoption, etc. Some get the chance to prepare for that. Some do not. What was that experience like for you?
That experience was probably a really big shift for me mentally because I've always examined my business as an extension of my life. It's a personal brand. And I really felt really excited about motherhood, but as many parents know, it is a life-changing event. And so adjusting to that took me quite some time. It was unplanned, fortunately. So it did take me by surprise, but I think what I learned during that process was acceptance, learning, why was it that I was struggling so much to keep up with my business? And it was truthfully because the offers I had created and the marketing systems that I had created were based on a different version of me. And it's not bad, it's not good, it's just that's what it was. It was a different version of me. And now moving into this new season of my life, I have to refine what the offerings are and really fit it into the lifestyle that I had. And it did take me some time. Also, there was a lot of life, things that were happening. Like many parents, they sometimes take maternity leave or paternity leave, or they take a break after having their children. Unlike some other families who go traditional route, my children are actually much older. So they are 10 and 11 right now, going on 11, 12. And so jumping from 0 children to 2 children who are in early elementary was quite a big leap, So we'll go from, me working, hustling 24/7, willing to go the extra mile for clients and having very poor boundaries to all of a sudden, hey, you really have a stopping point. And yes, you cannot work on weekends because you need to make sure your kids are eating and, making sure that they're safe and they're healthy. You can't just put everything on pause like you were before, just with my partner. So I think it was a drastic shift. But I would say that thankfully I had discussions with my family before then. I discussed it with my husband. I discussed a little bit with my kids, and I told them that at the end of the day they're my priority, and obviously I want my business to flourish. However, in that season, I needed to take a step back and say, let's just reevaluate my capacity. And my capacity wasn't something that included the business at that time.
So your business is the course consultant. How did you get into that line of business?
Yeah. So I actually have a master's degree in instructional design. So basically, it's the theory of adult learning. And so when I was working in corporate training, I was helping design online training and development. And what I noticed was that some of my friends who were in the business world were asking me, how do you create a course? How do you put one together? And so I created an online course as part of my master's program. And then I beta launched that. After that, then I started helping other people. Eventually, I started doing freelancing work, developing online courses for different individuals and organizations. And I worked with a wide variety of industries, from financial advisors to branding designers to podcasters. I've even worked with people who are creating classes on stitch work. And so it has been a really exciting process to kind of be in this space. I did eventually have an agency where I helped people create, and I had at one point a team of, I want to say, for one project, it varied based off the project, but I had a team of maybe 13, which was the highest I had ever had. And then, as I kind of started the adoption process, I decided that that agency model was not really suited towards my availability. So I shifted back to solo entrepreneur. I had a VA come on every now and then for operations support. And since then, I've been able to continue to create digital products and programs. And I think that there are many people out there who really can use it to grow their business without having to rely solely on one-on-one work. And it's something I'm really passionate about. And it's something that I myself have done as well in my business, not just only offering services, which I do have, but also creating some content for people to consume and help them in their business.
When it comes to folks trying to decide if they want to do a course for their business, what are some things that they should consider?
Availability is definitely one of those things. So I like to think about digital products are an extension of your offer suite. So backwards planning. So what's the big offer that you offer? Because a lot of people want to start with, I want to do a $9 membership or a $7 ebook. And I always try to think, let me understand what's the big picture. And sometimes if we're working backwards that way, we can create a really beautiful offer suite. And it doesn't have to be this ascension model that's very common, which is basically like people go from the entry level offer to the intermediate, then they hop into your big coaching program or your one-on-one services or your one-on-one coaching. Sometimes people will come in and, take a little appetizer sampler, or they'll want to grab, a big good meal from you, like a hamburger and fries, and they'll want to eat it up. So it doesn't quite work like that, like a beautiful ascension ladder. But I like to think, if I were to look at an offer suite, I would say, let's look at what is it that your big picture offer is going to provide, whether that's a one-on-one service, and then actually backwards track. Okay, so what's a good entry level offer that we can provide for someone who's brand new to you, who doesn't know what you have to offer, and you can really use your framework to embed that into the curriculum. And I think that it can be very overwhelming for people, especially when they're trying to dump so much knowledge into their program that they want to overwhelm their clients or their customers. So it's important to really just look at it big picture and then make bite-sized content. And I think that's why I like to think about neurodivergent entrepreneurs, to help them really get the most out of the programs. And also, even if the person who I'm working with isn't neurodivergent, it's important that they also consider that, how easy is this content to access and how quickly can this customer see results? Because the better results equal better testimonials, better sales, and better experiences for the customer.
So I know that the stats around people who purchase a course and actually finish the course are kind of dismal. Why do you think that is, and why do you think what do you think course creators can do to help with that?
Yes. This is a very common question I get. So course completion, I don't think can always be tied to course satisfaction. So for instance, if we're looking at course completion for a certification program, I do think completion in that regard is important, because completion equals certification equals credibility of the program. And when I was a master's degree program, I was actually helping in a team to support ongoing students who were going through the curriculum to complete their master's program in that that program. So in that regard, yes, I do believe that it is important. But if we're looking at mini courses or even just mid-ticket courses, like for instance, 97 or 197, 497, things like that, what I'm looking for is how satisfied was the customer after purchase from day 1 to day 60. Because what we're looking for is if the customer is going through the content and they find one module that's really, really useful, then they're satisfied with that module, then yes, I would say the satisfaction is more important. If we were to look at the completion rate, if someone's not completing the course, I think, and we're factoring that as a priority, then I would say, hey, let's look at the actual content itself. And what I would say is that most newer course creators or curriculum designers are stuffing too much in. So I know that, for instance, stuffing a program that's a high ticket course or a mastermind or a group program, more is not always better. Less is more, in my opinion. If we're focused on efficiency and we're focused on getting the best results for our clients, we don't want to overwhelm our user. I mean, how many times have you had to sit through one of those required trainings and you're like, skip, 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 skip. Let's just go to the part that I actually need, right? We don't want that for our customers. So what we want to do is really break it down into bite-sized lessons. We can use transcripts. We can use private podcasts. If you want to take a workshop and break it down from a 90-minute lesson, break it up into 6 to 7 minute lessons, and you can chop it up in a video editor, upload it to Vimeo or your video hosting platform of choice. Make it simple and easy for people to consume and make it quick and easy for people to see the outcome. That's the goal of a really great designed course or program.
Yeah, I know there's been several courses that I've invested in, and it was often just for 1 or 2 modules. So no, I did not finish that course, but that does not mean I was dissatisfied with it. I got exactly what I needed. And then, I have it there in my library should I need to go back and do the other modules. So I love that you're emphasizing the satisfaction. How do course creators find that out? Like, how do you know? And what do you ask folks to measure if they're satisfied or not?
Yeah, so testimonial requests are a great aspect of that, but I like to do beta tests, and by beta test I'm referring to you kind of create a minimum viable product or an MVP and launch it, meaning you start selling it maybe at a discounted rate. Maybe it's not to all of your audience, or if you're just brand new, maybe you're just working with clients. And that's what I really love when I work with service providers, because they have clients. They're really in the middle of understanding what is it that their clients and customers are really struggling with. Service providers are excellent for this type of offer for a beta launch. So getting their clients involved, asking people, doing market research questions, people can fill out forms. You can also do interviews. So I actually have interviews with people who are not my customers, and I will actually ask them, what would you find useful for your goals this year? What are you working on? And sometimes I think I know what they're looking for. And honestly, when I get to hear from my customers or my, before customers, my pre-customers, they will tell me something that I was completely not expecting. And that's really a good thing, because I would rather hear it first before I develop something they don't need that ends up sitting in my Google Drive. That's not making me money. That's not helping anyone. Right. So that's the way I would go about it, and really asking people what is it they really need. And sometimes, to be honest, it really is part gut instinct, because some people will say, well, I need this. But when you really know, that's just a symptom of a larger problem, and it's actually something else entirely. So you don't really know until you test it. And so that's why I like the beta tests. It's because you can see, did this land? Or, yeah, people didn't like it. It wasn't what I thought they needed. And now it has resulted in not the sales I was expecting, or the experience wasn't there. It wasn't what they wanted. Or maybe it just shows me something else that I need to work on.
Earlier, you talked about helping your clients create courses that are more accessible to lots of different learning styles, thinking styles. When somebody goes to create a course, let's say they're DIYing it, how would they go about making sure that their course is accessible?
Yeah. So, accessibility is a very important thing for online courses. And there's different accessibility points, right? So we can look at different learning disabilities, and we could also look at neurodivergent needs as well. And so if we're looking at it from an accessibility standpoint, we want to understand what are the core features of this course. We know what is going to be included, your modules, your chapters, your lessons, your activities. And then how can I make it accessible in different features? So I mentioned asynchronous learning previously, meaning it's not at the same time, it's not always offered live. Some people really, really like that, especially if you get overwhelmed with too much stimuli, like verbal stimuli. B, sometimes if you are anti being on camera, I have had some people that are completely afraid of being on camera, including group coaching calls. So offering alternatives to group coaching calls from Zoom. So for instance, for me, when I was working on a program, I created a way and I worked with a couple of other entrepreneurs to offer implementation sessions. So instead of going on a Zoom call, I offered a way to go into a virtual co-working room where they could come in as they needed based off of their availability. And then I would say, I am available between this time and this time. If you have questions, you can come and check in with me. Another thing you can do is provide transcripts. So if you have a private podcast, you can transcribe your podcast and offer that with timestamps. One of my VIP day clients, she asked me to make sure that I have timestamps on different things that we were working on during her 90-minute session to map out her membership. And I think it's important that we understand that you won't get it right all the time. Sometimes there will be a need that you didn't anticipate, and that's okay. We want to try to be the best at accessibility, but it's a learning process. And we want to surround ourselves with people who have a wide array of knowledge around accessibility. Like, for instance, I have another colleague who is focused on accessibility for deaf and hard of hearing clients, because she is deaf and hard of hearing herself. And so she brought up some really good points that I hadn't even considered, besides, captions, besides transcripts, and then the visually impaired students, maybe who need some additional resources. And those are really big concerns for people who really want accessibility to content. So I think it's important to evaluate making the effort to go to be more accessible, but also realizing that it is a learning process and you're not going to get it perfect the first time.
And you also, you can't necessarily please everybody, because I know a lot of folks who are like, I need all the content at once. That's just what I need. And then there's others like, oh no, that's too overwhelming. So you just kind of have to find what your people most want, I'm going to assume, and go with that. Um, the accessibility for a lot of us is a value. Um, what would you say to somebody who wants to really make sure that their values and the course are aligned? Because unfortunately, out there in the internet world, a lot of times courses are literally just pushed as something to do so you can make more money. The easy way to make money, which we all know is not the easy way to make money once you do a course. But it's all about like just getting as much money from as many people as you can. And that's not who my audience is. They want to make sure that their values are always aligned with what they're doing. How could they do that when it comes to courses?
Yeah, so I think I love to think as courses as snowflakes. There's as many different kinds of courses and programs out there as there are people and snowflakes. And so if we look at it from the stance of, you don't have to make a course that looks like everyone else. It doesn't have to be beige. You don't have to wear a suit. You don't have to have the Lambo. You don't have to have the Bitcoin or the crypto out. So if we look at it from the standpoint of, what are your values? Each individual person will have their own set of values. Number two is, how do you instill those values in the communities and the courses and the curriculum that you create? And so one of the things that I talk about in some of my programs is creating either a community that really aligns with those values, because we can talk about creating a business and making money online all day, but if it's not aligned with our values, we're really doing ourselves and our clients a disservice. And so if we create a community that centers around these shared values, we can not only create an impact for ourselves, but if we're doing it for our customers and also for other businesses, we can also impact people on a much bigger scale. And so the way I like to communicate that to my customers is number one, what do you want this to look like and do for your life? So what are the outcomes that you hope to accomplish? For many people, it's flexibility, and it isn't just the money. So I've worked with several financial advisors who said, I really don't care that I'm making money because they have plenty of money to have. I really want to make an impact for people so that they can find financial freedom. So keeping that in mind, then we start creating some content and courses that will align with their values. So for instance, one of my clients, again, who was focused on mindfulness about money, was focused on how can we contribute some of the money towards causes that we really believe in. And that was part of their course. And I really, really appreciated that. So that's just a beautiful part of helping people create courses, is that it's not just about the content, it's also about the values and how can we embed those values in our curriculum without just shoving it down people's throats, making it beautiful as a snowflake on a beautiful cold day, or as beautiful as the sun on a wonderful summer day, depending on your favorite season.
When you think about your business now and who you are now, what would you say to yourself when you first started your business? What advice would you give?
Oh, goodness. Wow, this is a really great question. I think I would tell myself that I don't have to prove myself. I would probably say that I'm doing the best that I can, and I will grow into the business owner that I really want to. So those are the things, and that creating the lifestyle that I want is something that's possible, and I don't have to strive constantly and work and overcommit myself for that to be possible.
Is there anything you would like to leave the audience with?
Yes, yes. I think when it comes to online courses and memberships and group programs, there's not a one size fits all approach. There are many different people out there, just like I mentioned, snowflakes and, beautiful summer days. As unique as you are, you don't have to fit yourself into a box. You don't have to copy some business guru who says, shove 997 courses down your throat, or create a beige course that is going to be a high ticket mastermind and just resell it to everyone. If you create a program that's based off of your lifestyle, that's not only sustainable for you, but also high value, there is the ability for you to make a living, grow your income, and have the impact that you truly want for your customers and for your own life. So that's what I would say to someone.
Excellent. Melody, where can everybody find you?
Yes, you can reach me at www.thecourseconsultant.com. I'm also on Instagram at The Course Consultant. I would look forward to hearing from someone, and I would love to meet you in the DMs and just say hi and that you listened and enjoyed this episode.
Thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks for hanging out with me on Here's What I Learned. If today's episode gave you an aha moment, a laugh, or something to think about, make sure you're subscribed to my email list. That's where I share even more tips, stories, and behind-the-scenes insights to help you simplify and thrive. And remember, you get to do business and life your way. Until next time, keep experimenting, keep simplifying, and keep learning.